Hey everyone, it's Bob Perkins coming to you from Inside Sales Studio here in Arizona. And I'd like to welcome our special guest, David Kreiger. David, how are you?
Doing fine. Thanks, Bob, for having me.
It's great to have you. We met and worked together a little bit at the last leadership retreat down in Florida just about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And, you have an interesting story, and you're going to share a little bit about that today. And that is you founded an outsourcing company almost 13 years ago on the premise that every salesperson would work from home remotely.
That's
And
correct.
here we are in the situation we're in, where a lot of
Yeah.
companies are at least temporarily having some of their sales reps work remotely or virtually. So we're going to do two videos here. The first one, you're going to talk to leaders and share some tips on remote leadership, virtual
Yep.
leadership. And then the second video for the reps that are, on the phone and on email selling. So David, it's all yours.
Yeah, that's great. No, and thanks again for having me. And yeah, this is an unprecedented time. So I appreciate you having me on. We have been doing this now for 13 years, where our whole team is 100% remote. And so I know a lot of people have been scrambling over the past week to assemble a remote team, and have done amazing jobs from what I've been seeing on LinkedIn and what I've been talking to people. And so just wanted to talk about a few of the things we've seen over the past 13 years, where that I think can help in this journey for people. And I think, some of the questions I've been getting asked a lot by managers is, how am I going to track my team? How am I going to make sure that they're working, if I can't see them and walk around and things like that. And one of the most important things that we've found with remote work is trust.
Yeah,
You've got to go into this with a trusting relationship, or it's not going to work.
that's right.
I think two of the main benefits of remote work are freedom and and allowing people to sort of work from home and work at their pace and whatnot. And obviously, we're forced into this, and so we've got to be able to maneuver. But if you don't trust your team to be able to do their job well when you're not breathing over their neck, you're going to destroy your remote work atmosphere, and you're going to destroy your team. You've got to empower your reps and trust them in this time, that they're still going to get their work done. They're still going to be amazing reps. They believe in the company, and you just need to believe in them. And that doesn't mean you can't and you shouldn't hold them accountable.
Right.
We're in the sales profession. You've got to hold them accountable. But hopefully, and I'm sure in sales, I've been getting calls from other people in other industries. We know KPIs and we know metrics better than a lot of industries. You need to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And maybe given what's going on, you might want to revise things a little bit so that they're fair. But make sure everyone is on board with the KPIs and what they're being held accountable towards. But then let them do their thing. Don't worry if they're working or not. Make sure that you're checking in your weekly meetings and huddles and things like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But don't breathe down their neck, and don't be worrying and checking in every moment.
And trust is a foundational building block, whether you're all together in a building or especially remotely when you can't, when you're not there in person. It's even more important.
And the things I'm going to talk about are fundamental principles anywhere, but a lot of times we see managers, because it's remote, they worry about some of these things, and they fall back on bad habits,
Yeah.
and you don't want to micromanage your team, and you don't want to be pinging them and calling them. You're just going to, you're going to not be able to make remote work in the way that you're going to find. And I think we're going to see this, Bob. I think a lot of people have been talking about it, that this is going to be a seismic change in the industry and way people do work. And I think if managed correctly, people are going to see what we've seen over the past 13 years, that remote is a far better way to manage sales teams. You have happier reps who have more freedom. They can work wherever they are. They're not tied to an office. They don't have a commute. You're going to allow them to do thinking work and not be caught up in meetings all the time, which is a wonderful aspect.
That's right. In
of
fact, I
remote.
found, you probably know this better than I do, but when I started working remotely years ago, I found that I got more stuff done.
Absolutely. How many times have we all thought that we have to get into the office early or stay late at night so we can actually do our work, right?
Yeah.
And that's because people come into our office, they ruin our train of thought. In remote, you have these boundaries, right?
Yeah.
That allow you to be more productive. And remote is just an amazing way to have a more productive and happy team if you manage and let it work.
And with the advent of click and shoot video like we're doing, right? Instant face to face, you still have that, rapport and the ability to socialize a bit or to see you, right?
Absolutely. So you can definitely, I mean, we didn't have Zoom 13 years ago, right? So
Yeah,
there's so
I
many
know.
other tools in Slack where you can do those things where you can create and create that face-to-face aspect. And that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about that I've gotten a lot of questions is the culture, right? You can't,
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of times before all these things transpired, you can't, why have remote? You can't have the remote culture. You can't have that buzz in the sales room. You can't have it, people who really embody the core values of the company. And that's just not true.
That's right.
And you got to take a lot of the same actions that you need to do to have a good, core culture in a centralized environment, and you have to use some new techniques. But I can tell you, at Sales, we have probably the thing I'm most proud of is our culture. We
Wow.
have reps who have never met each other, and they
Mm.
call each other. When they're not working, they feel like they're good friends. Some people
Yeah.
feel like they have a best
Yeah.
friend at
Yeah.
SalesRoads, and so you can create an amazing culture if you give people the opportunity to come together as a company in a lot of the ways that are so easy with the technology we have right now.
That's great. That's great. Any other tips for leaders managing performance? Things like they used to get together for one-on-ones, that kind of thing.
Well, I used to is I don't think there is used to right now.
Yeah.
You got to still get one-on-one. So like I said at the beginning, we need to trust our team and we can't worry about micromanaging them, but we need to have clear KPIs that we hold them
Yeah.
accountable to. And the few best practices I have is have some very clear meeting rhythms. If you
Mm.
don't have huddles yet, have a daily huddle with your team, a 3 to 5 minute huddle, right? Every time, and have it, an odd time, 12:01 to 12:04 or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Just get on, do a quick shout out. What's your key goal for the day?
Yeah.
What's a win you had? Where are you stuck? So you can facilitate that communication, and then have your weekly meetings. And absolutely, Bob, you need to have your one-on-one still on a weekly
Yeah.
basis to go over metrics, to have that, and you can do it over Zoom or you can just talk. Because communication is key in a remote environment, but you can do it as long as you have scheduled meetings with a very good game plan for each of those meetings.
So with the advent of video and the ease of use like we're doing right now, would you recommend, like if you did a daily huddle, let's say you had 10 reps, would you recommend quick jump on Zoom, or would you recommend like a conference call in line, phone
I
only?
mean, I think Zoom is wonderful. I
Yeah, I
think
do
you,
too.
you get it. It's so easy. It's not the days of where we had Citrix and everyone's fumbling to figure out how to get it going for 5 minutes. You
Right.
click, you're on, you stand up, everyone sees each other.
Yeah.
Have one person, doesn't have to be the leader, running that meeting,
Yeah.
right? And just go quick. Make sure you're going quick on that huddle. Have high intensity, good, an agenda. Don't let it drag on for 30 minutes, but make sure you've got that daily face-to-face contact, even if it's virtual.
All right, some great tips for managers, leaders out there. Let's keep the extra dose of trust, keep the engagement going. Celebrate wins together. Do your daily huddle. Still manage your performance the way you would. And again, a shout out to video, using video, because it can really bring the the person much closer virtually anyway. So,
Yeah.
David, we're going to close up this video here just shortly, but we're going to do another video right after this around best practices if you're a sales rep. I know
Absolutely.
when I first went virtual, and our AISP team is 100% work from home virtual or wherever you are, it took me, I'm going to say 6 to 9 months to really acclimate to it. I like being around other people. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a little bit of a learning curve. So you're going to talk about that next week a little bit too.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Thanks everyone for watching this, and be safe out there. Okay.
Thank
David,
you.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Bye-bye.